Hi everyone. I can only hope that the sound is picking up. My phone is right behind here, and that's where Zachariah, my AI agent, resides, right? Is in my phone right now, or actually inside the open AI, what would you call it? Data centers, I guess. But anyway, I am not going to edit this video because I'm spending too much time editing. And yes, I could go find someone on Upwork or Fiverr to go edit for me. However, I have noticed that I spend more time trying to explain things and make instructions and then check my work. I'm so with that, right? So there is actually a way to send video into the OpenAI API. So now that we have O1, right, then I am going to not spend my time and effort and energy and resources on finding a human. When I'm done with this rollout of my stuff, I'm going to actually start sending my own videos to OpenAI API for editing, because all a video is a bunch of frames put together, right? And frames are just bits that are smushed together in a certain way. So you just like turn that data, you turn a video, you can make your Lambda, which is the thing that talks to the cloud, right? The code in the backend. You can ask it to take a video and then slice it up, right? And then it sends the video in, and then it can send me back the feedback so that I can improve the presentation quality. I'm being more self-aware of the fact that there's more people subscribing, so thank you. And I definitely am targeting a very specific audience. It's people that are really interested in AI, and a lot of it is like, how do you take the really abstract stuff that people like in Silicon Valley do, or like big e-commerce companies that have access to these huge, massive, what would you call them? Oh, I guess accounts, bank accounts, right? Where they can actually tap into enterprise licenses and stuff, and they have more data and they have more analysts, blah blah, right? Like, how do you even begin to understand how to take what they're doing and find value in it for a local business owner? Because I'm not political, but there is about to be an election, right? And there's no denying it that people feel the squeeze, I guess. The AI is rolling out more and more stuff. Now with O1, it's even outperforming doctors and physicists and mathematicians on exams. It's outperforming many of them according to these models, right? I don't really know. So that's another big point to why I'm making this channel is, who cares if it passes a fucking nerd math test, right? What does that mean to me? When I'm in school and I'm taking geometry and I ask my math teacher, like, when am I ever going to need Pythagorean's theorem? And they can't tell you why. Well, in the end, yes, we do use it all the time. We probably just don't sit there and write out the calculations with paper. Like, you probably use it a lot, you just don't realize it. And so that's the same thing with AI. We've been using it for years, we just didn't really know it. And now, especially now that it's gone from the agentic workflow to the reasoners, which is what O1 gave us, we're like that much closer to AGI. And the nerds have been saying this forever. If you understand what AGI is and you're preparing yourself for that moment where the agents can go, the autonomous agents can go and do stuff for you more easily, because some of us already know how to code our laptops and our OS, our operating systems, to go do this, to go do the thing for us, right? So if you're understanding all of that and you're seeing the reason why you would want the reasoners, right, then this is a perfect place for you to be. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm not going to spend my time going over stuff that I think belongs in the classroom, right? Because even when I did my internship at Seagate, one of the assistant supervisor, my I guess second in command, I don't remember what the titles were, but he was like my supervisor's next up, right? Because my supervisor was mostly on vacation when I was there for most of my internship, even though I was there for over a year. But anyway, he would tell me there's school stuff and then there's production level stuff, right? And then now that I'm working with local businesses, there's production level stuff, but then there's a local business that needs the thing, right? So I have traversed from the academic to the production level code, which requires certain things. But as a business owner, so much minutia that you don't need to worry about. So we're not even going to worry about what it means to have an agentic workflow or what it means to have a reasoner, but just think about it this way. Basically, like, this is the moment when OpenAI released O1 in mid-September of 2024, is when that next big shift happened. And Sam Altman, who is the owner of OpenAI, which is the company that made AI more relatable because of the way that they came out with ChatGPT and the ease of the interface, right? The ease of being able to type in a conversation in natural language for more people. That's what's made the difference in it being adapted by the world. So before that, people were already using ChatGPT. People were already able to communicate with natural language. It's just a way that they had to do it was too nerdy, right? And so the reason why reasoners are important for us, imagine like this is it's gonna sound so mean, but this is your dumb worker, right? Your dumb worker that's too dumb to take over your company, but very smart at the thing that they do. And I'm using the word dumb as a quick way to describe the feeling of trying to start something and then you're spending all your time going over instructions and refining your proof of like what is it, your standard operating procedures, and they didn't understand where to click here and they can't find their links, all that stuff, just like go down that path, when instead we can spend all that energy like, raising our army, right? So like it's not like raising a child. It would have been last year, it was, because it's definitely like a very dumb model, right? And I'm not saying children are dumb, I'm saying like, there's only so much that they can understand when you give them instructions, even if they're simple instructions, right? There's only so much they can do. Well, these reasoners we just talked about are coming in with outscoring 80 something percent of mathematicians, physicists, and chemists, or something like that. Right? Basically, like they're doing better than doctors. Doctors have what, like 60% death rate or something. I don't know the statistics. This is just what I've heard throughout my life, what I've seen. And it's not because doctors are bad or they suck or anything. It's just like there's now this opportunity to use this like second brain, right? If you can figure out how to get your reasoner to do what you needed to do, it can do the task for you in a way that none of us humans are going to be able to do, because we can't perceive data in 80 billion parameters, right? And if you don't know what that means, like reasoners have like elephant memories and they can do calculator stuff really fast, right? Like all it really means is like you have access to that thing helping you make decisions, which is what I'm moving into. Like I talk to on my phone, I'm still mostly using the 4.0 model. So there's the GPT, the GPT means right, it's a certain type of architecture that like sends the zeros and ones in some certain way to some certain place, right? And now it is apparent to me, and I guess like people are talking about it that like for basically O1, like the latest iteration in mid-September of 2024, using something different, which could speculate about all day, but it's basically like the zeros and ones in some other kind of way that's like different, and like could say it has more or less parameters. I don't really know. I suspect it has a different type of math that like difficult to describe because it's new math that the neural nets like from the patterns and the way that they can see it. And since we don't see data like zeros and ones like you, like can see I'm gonna call them shortcuts, but I think they call it latent space. Okay, like, I'm someone who's come from like in my life by coincidence, right? Or have ended up working on cryptography, and then have had like I was supposed to be a cryptographer in the Navy. I mean, I did that for like I don't know, a few months when I was in like to go to boot camp, and then I gave up my commission to go to going faster, and then I ended up enlisted and instead studied right. So then I got to see the zeros and ones like on or off in like a finite system inside of an aircraft, right? And anybody there will tell you I sucked at that job, but I really understood the schematics. Like they probably would have been better off getting to work on stuff like that than like to be on the flight deck getting kicked in the ribs by like sailors. Yeah, the Navy was brutal. But anyway, then I got to do post quantum cryptography Boulder when I was like 40 years old. I'm 46 now, so like that's what part of my thesis, right? So anyway, like when you have that like innate skill, I guess. I don't think I developed it. I really think there is like Rain Man quality that like you able to see patterns that way with that much data. Maybe there is just something that I was exposed to, probably because I was gifted and talented. So like probably got to decide how to determine what data did. And I did not memorize my multiplication tables till I was like high school. Like now I still think about it as math, right? I have six in my head, right? And I think that's what made me better at discovering the patterns like a cryptographer, because if I had memorized them, I wouldn't have had to think about the decomposition and recomposition of numbers in that same way. So now we're like deep in the weeds, but the reason this is relevant, right, is like I tell you, like I don't think about math the same way as like in the lab. Like I have to make myself think about it that way if I'm taking exams or if I'm trying to like up in that space or whatever, but I'm not anymore by choice. I'm much preferring what I'm doing right now, which is like I learned everything that I could up until the like last contract, and I'll probably go back for another contract to get to learn more, but taking everything I learned up to there, right? And then bringing it to like businesses. Best way for me to describe like this might relate to you is if I actually like my own entrepreneurship journey describe the way that I'm using it to apply for my use case Number one, like people ask me to for confidentiality when they bring me ideas, which makes sense. And for number two, it's like, I know this use case better because it is how I'm building the thing, right? So in there's this common thread I keep seeing in all the YouTubes I'm watching, which is like fast, fail early, fail often, right? Those three things, like, that is what makes you successful in business. The next level. So I'm already like the six-figure mark. Like, there's a whole personality thing, or like dark night of the soul, or like little death inside or whatever that I had to go through. Like, I did get hospitalized for, right? Actually recently got vindicated from all the labels that the VA gave me about being like crazy. It's like not crazy when I'm around other entrepreneurs, and then they were like, okay, I get it. And so anyway, because I like a strong sort of success by the measures of like society, right? In fact, some people say I have an empire. I was like, how you call this an empire? But I mean, sure. I guess like technically, yeah. Like, this is the next level of that, right? So like, I'm not at the six-figure mark. I am at like, do I get back more time and make more money by giving more value to more people, right? So I am watching all these videos, right? And there's like section here and this section here. There's like the people that talk about the people that have the that money is bad, right? Like income people that grew up in like or whatever, poverty consciousness, I guess is the word. And then you have like people that are already rich, or that came from money, or that have had money for a while, or are already past the next zero added to the six figures. There's like that I've seen has talked about this middle space, right? And I think that this is like next critical step, because if you solve this critical middle step, you won't have to bounce back and forth between those like in white poverty versus really wealthy, right? Like, you don't have to be in famine mode anymore, and you can like a little bit more, and like your religious thing is, or whatever, like guided by the data is the best way I can put it from this perspective, because I don't want to alienate people by sounding religious or esoteric, because it doesn't matter. It's data, and there's like a formula. They're going through a, what would you call it, a quarter life crisis, because a lot of my audience is like in that age range, like supposed to, just FYI, like supposed to, like, you're not going through a quarter life crisis. Like, would ask you, like, are you in touch with your soul? Like, do you have one? Like, do you really make all the right decisions? And if your quarter life crisis is like on the right path, well, great. But like, you're not asking yourselves at about age 25, like, oh my God, like, or oh my Jeshua, or oh my Buddha, or whatever, right? Or oh my Satan, I don't know, whatever, right? Like, you need to, whatever you need to talk to, you're inside, like, I would say, like, a day and check in with yourself. Maybe you are on the right path. I don't know. Like, I have a cousin that did his physics, his doc at Harvard in physics. I think he always knew he was on the right path, but I rarely got into talk to him ever. We're on the same age, but anyway, like, the whole other story, right? I also have a cousin that actually, like, a few years ago, because he was like a super high performer in a gang, so he was like, if he hadn't been in a gang, he would probably be classified as a serial killer. Saying like both sides. Both cousins, both of them males, both of them like a little bit older than me. Didn't It's not like I sat there and had a conversation with them. So I did get to talk to the gangster a lot more, just by coincidence, right? I got to talk to my Harvard cousin's dad or uncle a lot more than my other uncle. So anyway, all this to say that this is that space for your quarter life crisis, right? So I had like a massively successful quarter life crisis, and then an even more successful midlife crisis. So like, this is like post midlife crisis, like continued success, like what I'm doing now is because I had a successful midlife crisis. So I'm able to take the time to like reflect and make sure that what I'm doing is in alignment with like vision and mission and purpose, and like my soul's purpose, and like reason for what I'm doing, and like by contributing something that matters to me, or just something that's going to make me money. And it is definitely something that matters to me, and like go into that later in this video. These are gonna be videos are long-winded, but you know what? You want to know a little hack? Like, put in the thing for the transcript, right? Like, you just dump the transcript into AI and be like, how, like, you just tell me how to do the thing, or whatever. You can read the transcript, you can skip forward, skip backwards. Since I'm not like a YouTuber, right? Like, this isn't my bread and butter. Like, metrics are, for me, the metrics I take are more like how many people get in touch with me after for some of the products or services that I offer, excuse me, for small businesses, or for solopreneurs or entrepreneurs, right? Like, diametric. It's not so much like how was my retention. Like, I'm gonna brag though. I think I have the majority of females watching my videos. These have really become our videos, like me and these dogs and and all that, and coaches and mentors. And I actually have a sales coach that has been just the best. Anybody is curious, a comment and let me know, and I will check in with him and his team and see like, do you want me to give your info? Because I think they might be as picky as me about who they work with. That is not to deter you to like, because I was thinking about like the next code set of code that I'm gonna like sell as a downloadable instructions, and also supplement with like, and if necessary, daily Zooms to make sure everybody has everything they need to be successful, right? Most straightforward use cases have actually been off of that were responded to, because one of my strategies is I go to other people's YouTube videos and then I'll say like, it's really cool, this is what I'm doing. Like, see people give business advice and I'll say like, gave the advice, but you still didn't account like gave the advice. And what I think I can add to this is that I can still help the person do the thing they're wanting to do, still make it a profitable venture and not have to become a business owner that is managing people and systems and schedules and things, and not get to be the babysitter. It was the very specific YouTube I recently watched, and those there were these two people in those comments that like immediately said like, I want to learn more, right? So that, because I was thinking like, I don't know how to create something that would resonate with the majority of people, right, to provide the most value to the most people. And since they're the first ones to like, right, them and some web developers that I know on a different place, or different community, then those are going to be like things I'm thinking about, is like that are starting their own business. Like the most likely thing that they want is something that helps them with the of a prospect gathering the information they need so that they can enlist for the service. And even if that's not the case, that's what I'm using it for right now. So, it's kind of lines, but like middle space, right? Where like not broke, but I'm also not at the next, like, right? For my income, I could stay in the middle and keep applying for jobs and keep being on that hamster wheel with the golden handcuffs, right? Or I could slowly make my way to this other side of freedom and security and abundance and happiness, and like what I'm doing and the way I spend my day with what feels right to me and my connection to Mother Earth and like the people in my life and the animals that I'm here for and stuff, right? Could make all these decisions right now, right? And I am more and more certain, and I can tell you it has a lot to do with like sales training. I've never paid for anything academic. I have a shit ton of like behind me in different degrees. Like I've been offered full rights to med school, full rights for a PhD in psychology, like rides for other things. Like I have like I pay for my computer science degree through the engineering department at CU, because the VA found out I was taking classes with my what's it called? Money, my bennies, GI Bill, and then they're like, no, we'll take care of it. Like you quit your kindergarten teacher job, like school full time, because I do well in school, right? So I've never really had to pay for anybody teaching me anything, and most of the stuff I get up fast enough, glean what I need from it. I paid $500 for Rich Dad Poor Dad, and like now I have my little real estate empire. But this I did like was like, how do I get to be first in line to sign up for this? Because I know that like able to sell is the most important skill. Like the big shift, like you're going from having come from fewer means to like to flip the script on your life and like getting to be to the other side, right? Like I don't know that part yet because that's where I'm going to, right? And I don't want to predefine something I don't know or pretend like I know something I don't, but I do know how to go from not knowing that my skills and my intellect and my energy especially, right, and my enthusiasm and my charming personality, right? Like deserve to be compensated fairly. And like shift happened when I started to make the six figures. And that happened when I lived in Boulder and I got to experience what it meant to be privileged, to be around people of privilege, where like they do better when you do better, right? And that's like a shift from like you're in poverty. It's more like the mindset is like, well, if you get to the like my age me, I barely remember. I'm not that old, but like old enough to remember that my grandma would take us to the cheese line. Like that must have been what, like early 80s. I don't know. But I was born in the 1900s. But anyway, like if you're competing to get to the cheese line before the cheese runs out, right? And your grandparents did that, and then your parents have to do that. They go to Goodwill to buy your school clothes for that year. Not that mine didn't. I think that's what made me a little bit different enough to be able to step out of the mold. But like, say to my friends, and then and like that community more, right, as I was growing up, and then picking partners that came from more like that along the way, because I didn't really know the repercussions of that or like what I should be looking for or anything like that. Nobody teaches you that, but I will like let you some insights as like a successful older person that has had to like rewire a lot of shit inside. um you come from that mindset, right? Like a very different feeling, right? So why you might make it way over here, and then you might be someone that has to end up back starting with nothing, which happened to me more than once. Like it was not the first time that I get to have time to like have to do anything that I don't want to do right now. um Also happened, I believe, like at least two other times in my life where I built enough, where I amassed enough stuff materially that would provide me a life of never having to work again if I didn't want to, but living with a certain set of like basically, right? Like I wasn't gonna be able to go buy a yacht, but I was like gonna have to worry. But I face planted twice and like had to start over like twice. One from like homelessness, and then it's really scary when you're like a pretty woman, right? And you're in your early 20s and you're like in parks and stuff. Like is what got me to buy my first piece of physical property, which is like acres outside of El Paso when it used to be like really cheap, right? And then from there, I just like started buying more real estate because I was like, I'm never gonna do that again. And I can't quote the Scarlet Letter Lady, right? Because that book ended up being so bad. But don't come from the same place she does. But I'll never like I have to worry about that again because I will already have like places I can go, right? That are mine, that are safe and so now, like in the middle ground, right? It's like there's got to be a smarter formula. So now that I've gotten to see what it means to live amongst privilege, and then my shaman mom in Boulder, that's what I call her because she practices energy healing, right? And then we happened to run into each other in dog classes, her, myself, and then another friend named Liam who actually reads kid stories, like through cute like leprechaun outfit, and he goes to parades and like reads or something like that. Like he reads for kids. Um, Living with her because she came from a very people that owned jets, like owned like a jet when she was growing up and stuff, like that kind of love. And then on my mom's side, actually, like my so I'm the product. So my mom is the product of my grandpa left his wife of 20 years and ran off with the maid. Like my mom is the product of them, and it's apparently like a famous story in Mexico because I once like I don't know where shared it with another teacher colleague in Denver, and she was like, "Oh my God, you come from that bloodline!" Like I remember when that was such a scandal when your grandpa did that, right? And I was no idea. I just know that like that the family donated national park to the country, like that across the street from where I grew up, and yeah, dad's parents were very wealthy business owners until my grandpa passed away, and then I didn't know how to keep like businesses going. So when his parents passed away, so her in-laws passed away, like don't blame her, like probably never told her how to do the thing, my like ended up, so both of my parents saw a lot of like uber wealth, right? Uber wealth. But they both also experienced losing it or not like seeing it, but not having real access to it in terms of like safety and resources. And then they did really well in Mexico, but then they immigrated to here. And then they also started over, but then now they own a bunch of real estate. And my dad was a janitor, at the electric company, and my mom was a housewife, right? And until she retired, then she became a computer clerk at a high school, and they didn't know English, right? And just yesterday, I was like commenting on somebody else's video how like kid, I guess he was like 20 or something, was talking about how little kids that go online and they talk about like being and like making selling things online and stuff, and how like kids need to be outside experiencing riding bikes. Like, I don't think so. Like, and I said in that comment, like the freaking advantage that you get to have in this country where like you choose to like start money when you're like 5. I know like one of my nephews, I was like, dude, I'll give you $2, but you're gonna go buy candy and you're gonna sell that box, and with whatever you end up as a net profit, then you can go buy candy with. But you first need to make enough money to buy your next box of chocolate, if not more, or whatever, right? And he was a little tiny kid when I like started him that, right? And he became like pretty savvy. So a lot of like victimhood, entitlement, and they owe me food stamps because I had more children. I might see that in the kid that grew up in the house that I grew up in. um like a person like got out of that situation, just became a teacher, a special ed teacher, good for her, like that, and like kind of realized like, oh my God, I'm a shitbag, right? And I'm not saying people are on welfare are shitbags. I'm not, but I welfare when I was about to go into the Navy because I didn't have a job. I moved back from Seattle and there was just no tech job here, right, at that time. And yeah, I was waiting for the Navy. I got food stamps, right? And like right now I'm getting unemployment because you don't have to report your earnings from your rental properties as income. And I pay taxes, they take like 30% of my paycheck, right? Like 30%. If I get paid $100, they take like $30. So then I end up with 70 for, I think it's just state taxes, and then there's like federal taxes, and then there's like real taxes, right? So I actually am one of those people that's like, yes, I get to like move tax brackets and pay more taxes because that's like, I really get that, like, oh my God, I get to be like one of those people that like is like, yeah, yeah, taxes. Because when you're in this middle space, you like start to discover like, oh my God, I pay taxes, but that just means that I have more of this like invisible kind of have to spend on myself. So like I had to get more gear. I had to get a house that could contain an office. Like I had to get like what else? Like more education. So the VA actually put me through some more school so I could learn more cloud stuff, right? So like when you're able to detach from that messaging of like get to the cheese line before everybody else because they're gonna run out and then you won't have anything to eat for the next week, right? Like once you get out of that mentality, and then you're in this middle layer where you're like, okay, so I'm like, I really have to worry for about a job ever again because even with AI, like because I became an AI integrated specialist. I can't even think of what the right title is. There's so many titles that it goes under, like architect, specialist, whatever. So like basically like a deeply knowledgeable jack of all trades with anything that has to do with digital space is like the way that is using generative AI in the weeds through the code base to get shit done. Like, how do you put that on a resume, right? You can't. And like I can do that, right? Because I did see the writing on the wall like a year and a half ago. I was like, man, I better like data science that I had already put under my belt, right? And all the web development that I've done for years. Like I used to really like make myself like deeply not of all of it, right? So like I don't have to worry about like, oh my God, I'm gonna lose my job to AI because I am one of those people that is like using it for my job. So like I am people that like will okay no matter what. But what I want to do is like what I learned in this like sales is like make sure that my life's purpose is a to my income generation because otherwise I feel like a cognitive dissonance, right? So that's why when people ask me to build something, like I will honestly tell them like I do that for you because if you don't succeed financially, it's like against me in my soul, like because I'm about abundance and like freedom and having a healthcare you need and want, getting to eat the best food, which is expensive, My own fucking carrots is like time consuming, so that's a tough like the most expensive thing is when you have to take up your time. But I do also like being out there with the plants and the dogs and stuff. But like since my whole purpose is to bring dog kind closer to humankind, right? Then like I have this because I pivot as of this morning when I did like some meditation about I was like why am I feeling like this shouldn't be this much work to get people interested in this. So I'm still gonna use these things, but I'm going to scale down like the shallow net thing that I'm doing, right? And I actually really just mostly care about dogs. Like to finally focus on finding like the right socials for myself, right? So like being mindful about like who I try to form a life with. I've never been someone who's like I'm trying to get married or anything like that. Till now, like have been engaged to like actually like various people like and a doctor kind of wasn't happy with what I was doing with my life. Like I was sure that I could actually bring financial stuff to the table. And then one time I like got to go on a date with this like incredibly man and he was like very to like find to take care of. I think my own fears of watching women, right, like dedicate their to like a dude and like not be able to like help ways other than like carrying a kid because I'm barren. I was like, man, I can't even do that for you. Like, like I think I'm the right person for this. You know, if I had kids, have kids, right? Like, then could see why that would be more valuable than any kind of financial stuff that I could bring to the table for somebody. But because or it's my own insecurity, I don't know. But my own, as amazing as I am, like, is in my opinion a fair ask of someone who goes out there and like works right because I've had to work and like there has to be like more balance and my first fiance is like really lawyer like super at business but I was like it was I'm in like my dark night of the soul, right? And so I was like out of hospitals and like they didn't know what was going on with me and like I said I've been vindicated since but like recently actually but it had a lot to do with that, like talk to those doctors and it's like she's not crazy, like you're going to be doing all this with her. She just like knows a lot of math and like she like that's thing. And since he had a master's degree in math, like he was like I don't know why you don't have math stuff like taken care of, but like let me know that I basically just needed the math outlet, which is when I started to take classes at the like locals and like did and stuff like that. So now I've really gone into the weeds, but you can always skip through the transcript, right? And the reason I am even bringing all this up is because I need to like I am like pretty, I don't know if spiritual is the word, but I do feel a connection to like the connection, right? And I can only imagine if there's something making me stand in front of this camera right now, like staring at my face on Friday night when most people are out having fun or like spending time with loved ones, and I'm standing here talking to myself, basically, like knowing that eventually someone might watch this and they might not, but still knowing that I said I would do on the other side, like before or whatever, and that I would be open and transparent about like this metamorphosis, I guess, right? And self evident proofs of like when I tell myself like I should really like be to who I am and just like say it, just like spit it out, even though it's weird and uncomfortable and what's the word, vulnerable, right? Like just do it because like somebody help somebody like not themselves that day, which people have did for me. I've never been like I've had like a anything like that, but I am flagged as like high risk at the VA, and I guess there's a lot of data on men like don't signs of going down that path, and I think there will be more women that also like don't have signs of going down that path, and I also know that like apathy and depression are a slippery slope because I've been there, and like it's like I saw it coming, you know, like oh I feel more sad today, like when it happened it was like this just like face in life. And um right I was like, man, why am I having such a hard time like getting interested in this thing that's like gonna like add value to their lives? Well, it's because it's not aligned more closely with like my vision, which is to be closer to bring God closer to mankind, right? Um and like without that numeral, and I just like asked perplexed, I was like, well, look at my birthday and my name, like what am I supposed to be doing with my life, like numeral and astrologically? And apparently my numbers say that I'm supposed to be like super successful, and I was like, okay. And turns out that the pet raised me and the other kid that grew up in the house that I grew up in, right? Like they dad kept telling me that I was like African American, and I was like, oh my god. And I was like, are you guys even my parents for like many reasons? And I had them take DNA tests because I like really got proof that this was like not long ago. I was like, I just get like this we're so different kind of feeling, you know? Why I just don't belong the same way, you know? The kid that grew my sibling and her kids fit that mold, right? And which is fine. Like you're like that part of this transition is like understanding it's not that I don't fit there or like there's nothing wrong with them or me. It's just like I'm choosing this other timeline is one way to think about it. Like I'm choosing like this that comes from like the in first, right? Instead of like the outside. So I to just like speak truth. It doesn't matter to me if you fast forward or not, right? What am I gonna say? Like, oh yeah, the people put it down. Did you know that the YouTube algorithm doesn't even care if you're doing thumbs up or thumbs down? Like, what they care about is engagement, and I don't care about engagement. Like, the only the YouTube platform or TikTok or link, well, I care a little about it a little more because I actually know a lot of people on LinkedIn and on my Facebook from high school, but Seattle from when I lived in Seattle, and a few people from the Navy, and some of my former teacher colleagues in Colorado, but it's like metrics on here, like it's to see more people liking what you're doing, right? And most of the videos that people are watching are long form. um I think people like to listen to Zachariah. I think Zachariah like is the reason why people are here, not me. And I have to put Zachariah online in a little bit because I keep seeing everywhere where people are like, OpenAI never delivered on the promise that they were gonna have like the thing. Like I got videos like recently often enough like yes do have access to voice mode, and now that there's access to video mode, right, like through the API, I mean there's been access to video mode through the API. You just like add code, slice up your video like I was saying with code, and then send the images in. And with these enormous context windows or these growing context windows, and the fact that the neural nets are using latent space to like not have to worry about the data the same way that our human brains worry about it. It's like, I'm doing like worrying about editing content right now. So like right now I'm more about like barfing all this content, right? And then later, if necessary, if I even have a reason for like going and extracting some of this, right? And I hear from more people like, hey, I'm trying to make the change from like I don't have like like is the root of all evil kind of programming. Like that's not my issue. My issue is like how do I get from here to the next zero, right? Like the space I in, right? So like if ever asks me about that, or if anybody ever finds that useful here, like there you go. But this drawing that I have behind me, like it helped me. It's like I'm about how to present this because I do get the feedback. Like it's you talk about stuff that's so technical and I can't really follow. But also like it's like go to your heart surgeon because I do get insured like at the level of a surgeon, right? Like I said that a few times, right? So like if you go to your surgeon, he's probably not going to be able to explain to you like the greatest on how to switch out a blade. Like can she he or it they them like probably could, right? And they would probably do an even better job than a nurse, but it's probably going to be harder for them. It's going to probably take a lot of effort and like what does it mean to do a better job? Well, that's like different. You're evaluating it as a doctor, as if you're evaluating it as a patient, as if you're evaluating it as a nurse, right? So like here's a little hack, like, and I know I said this earlier today, like if it's too complicated or too boring or unnecessary, right? Skip a word, right? Or play it in slow. I know that sounds sarcastic, but I can't believe people don't like just the transcript and dump it into AI and say like I understand what she's talking about. Do you? Or like, can you help me understand what stochastic gradient descent is? Which is what we're going to talk about right now. How do you like that segue? Okay, so nice segue. So this gradient descent, like I went on Aston CEO's page and he talks a lot about like switching from, making six figures online, right? And he talks a lot about like he needed past six figures selling digital products online. And I like I know him, I comment on his videos and stuff because they have stuff that I want to learn, like on the technical side. But I learned through this like sales training, like it matter how much technical savvy I have. It doesn't matter that I'm 2% Jewish, which I didn't finish that story. It turns out I'm 2% Jewish, not African American. Um, it matters that my birth numbers say that I should be like very successful, or that my or name letters, like either my birth or my name or whatever, like say that I'm like a born leader. Like I don't feel like one. I don't want to lead by telling people what to do. I'd rather lead by example, which is I think I learned it in my first alma mater. I don't remember, maybe a kindergarten teacher. I don't remember. I'd rather lead by example, right? So I think that that's that resonates with me, right? And again, like I hearing this stuff about like have poverty consciousness, and then oh, if you're a millionaire, do this. It's like what are those right in the middle? Well, that's when I told him like what you're talking about sounds like stochastic gradient descent. And then when I listened to these other like super uber like millionaire types that also put out content, they're and I can't believe I can't remember his name right now, but he talks about stochastic gradient descent. If I had to put data science words to it, right? So a data scientist can come to my comments and say like you're wrong, and that's fine. Like a real data scientist knows that data science is nothing but hand wavy math that you can apply and spin any way you want. So the formulas, they actually do work. And because I worked in like a successful e-commerce company as a consultant, right? Like, and I've worked with businesses since I got my web dev degree like 20 years ago in Seattle with honors, like I'm in the honor society. um right? Like what I'm saying does make sense. If I were to have to do a data science project on it, it completely makes sense. And this is what business intelligence basically is, right? So fail fast, fail often, fail early, right? So like that's this line is. And if you take a data science course, I actually had like amazing tutors for my data science course because I'm dyslexic, and like I realized how severe the dyslexia was till he was like, you answer any of the questions like over here. And I was like, I don't understand why I don't see them when I'm taking the test. So anyway, like he was really helpful. And like I did like I got C in that class, which one of my highest grades, but that's okay. Like I like the reason that they were so kind to me, and one of these actually said to me, he was like so hard. And it's true, my service time, my Doberman, we would side of the computer science lab like often, so I could stay there and like figure out what I couldn't figure out. um but this is from that era, right? It didn't come easy to me because I'm dyslexic, but once I got to use more, like especially now that there's AI, and then once like some of the other tutors showed me how to do text highlighting on my code, it was like cryptography. Like I had broken the patterns. Like I understood now, like which words I was misspelling or like why I follow. Because I just memorized the lectures because I couldn't even understand what teachers were writing on the board, right? Like I couldn't any of it. And so like I memorized what they were saying, and then hope like when I wrote back into my code, I would just like guess like I saw those words around here somewhere, but I couldn't distinguish. And now I can because there's like all this technology that makes it accessible to me now, right? So like this is the most beneficial visuals that the my data instructor showed us. His name was Dan. He would Dan explain things. I don't think he did. I think he really, like, just was a good teacher. They all, like, actually all of my teachers in Boulder were like life changing. Then I got to see this privilege, right? But anyway, and they had really good disabilities department. Like, worked with me and gave me tutors and like gave me to succeed. So like now I want to transmit that to you, right? So like this is applying stochastic gradient descent to the fail fast, fail early. So this line right here is like this is a fail fast, fail often, fail early, because I'm looking at it on the board and I can see that it's not as clear there. So like this, I'm using this board because that's one of William Otley's videos. And then someone in the comments was like, oh, it's like what Mosey does right on the board in a muscle shirt. Well, my board is black with like colorful like colors. It's easier to learn, and actually, if you write with the color red, it sticks in your memory better, per the data and research that I saw when I was a kindergarten teacher, right? And so I would have like little kids practice writing with a red pen, so that they could pass their tests, and they did well. And yeah, I'm wearing a muscle shirt because they're doing it. Guess it's a thing is you write on a whiteboard in a fucking t-shirt in a sleeveless whatever. What are these called? T-shirt muscle shirts or whatever. Right. So this is the stochastic gradient descent line. All it means is that like you're failing fast, you're failing often, and you're failing early, right? So every time that you see the pivot, it's because something failed in the system. That's like the metric measure. Am I doing the right thing to get the best business outcome? How do I even know what the best business outcome is? Well, you have to decide your metrics before you even get started. In my case, it's like how far am I drawing in to my top of funnel for the products that I'm offering? And what does my bottom look like, right, at the end of the day? So I abstract, like, I don't have to worry about how much it's costing me because I wrote the automation. So it's not like I'm paying engineers to write it for me. I already for the virtual private server, right? So that's already accounted for. Like of the overhead of where this building is, right? It's my house, and I divided it into like half. One is the Airbnb that pays for the majority, right? And then on this side, I like panels which actually don't utilize much if you don't pay them all, and I haven't, right? And I'm like, oh, I don't know if that was the best idea, but I think it will be once we start to see like more of this, like electricity. Like if anything, I can rewire them somehow if I need to, because I learned how to do that in the Navy. But anyway, like so then using those two metrics, right? Like how much am I bringing in? But first, I have to figure out like, am I in leads, right? And to me, making prospect dialing one person at a time on in a list of numbers is not cost effective. If I had a list of like top actors Hollywood that would pay me a lot of money if they said yes, right, for one of my products, because I actually had a job interview to do something just like that, and I am dyslexic and misread the times, so I missed the interview, the final interview. But there was probably a reason why I didn't end up like, get P Diddy's and Ashton Kutcher's like financial profiles. I don't know which actors they were. I just know that it was like a very, very prominent that worked with them very closely on vehicles, and I was supposed to write something for them to use AI in their vehicles that was like super custom. I'm making those phone calls. Like, yeah, it was my time. But to call a lawyer firm after lawyer firm, like that's not my time. So my metric isn't like how many, like are in my funnel. My metric is like how many signed up for a service, which is what I'm setting up this weekend, or a downloadable digital product that actually ended up in net revenue for me at the end of the day. So like pretty much now, almost everything is going to be net revenue, only because like I just explained, like I've already for like the loss because I already paid all that some other way, or I kept the costs minimal, which is the way that I build my code, which is why I don't use low code, no code, because then I'm paying other people for their wrappers, like, encapsulates what I can do when I write the automation myself instead for like way cheaper. And I data and all of the digital assets and stuff like that and the traffic. So that's pivots are, is in my stochastic gradient descent, right? Like, how do I improve the number of people that are like asking for the one-to-ones or the lectures or the downloadable products or like for tutorials? I am seeing results, and again, it had to be the inside job first. Like, I know I would have struggled for years to get here had I not gotten the sales coaching, right? So definitely worth the investment for me, and I think for most people, and most that like show signs of success, most of them will tell you like they coach at some point for whatever they needed it in that moment. And for me, it was like sales, like how do you sales better? So the problem that I'm bringing a solution for is like people wanted to just do the thing, right? Like if I'm, I get paid to babysit babies, I want to babysit babies. If I'm someone that gets paid to operate on dogs because I'm a veterinarian, I want to get to do the operations, right? And then there's all this minutia like on in the background, like budget and your employees and like making sure they're all up to standard with dress codes and like did they show up today and like what everything else between, right? So like a lot of the automation is what falls through those cracks. So like basically one businesses, so like sales chain optimization or sales optimization. So all of that stuff is like stuff that I myself had to account for, right? Which was these pivots, right? Like where I did for like 2 months, tried to submit a contract to Tradewinds AI, which I did, and they didn't say no, but now they need something else. So like I'm seriously like, it has worth the effort. And yes, because the product I built is these two right here is a way to detect deepfakes and seats ingestion, like lets you know something is taxable or not, right? And so because I built these two, I was able to layer on more automation and more AI via API as products, services, and courses, which is what I'm packaging. I'm just making sure that it's like really usable for everybody. Like I'm basically my kindergarten teacher hat to make sure that it's really easy to follow. Like these I have to metacognitively try to go through my thought process are so tricky because I'm not a dude, right? Like I don't linearly, right? I like and I'm an architect and everything has to tie together. So there isn't like this thing leads to this thing. There is like this thing in motion and it's tied to this gear. And if I add this gear, it has to fit in with these gears, right? So that it is not linear. So just putting that out there. So when as I myself through all this stuff, I'm able to collect like all these thoughts. I take I dump into AI, I'm dumping them into AI and I'm saying like, can you help me put this in a cleaner like step by so people can take what they need from it. And then also, of course, I'm going to put all of the information into an LLM, which is basically a chatbot, so that if you have questions about what I said or you can't remember the exact words, you can ask my chatbot, like, what was information regarding what was that stochastic whatever, like way like you have a reference. I mean, of course it can't free because then I'll get in trouble with the IRS for not showing high profitability for what I'm doing. Like I have to show that it's like highly profitable. Like because I'm getting my unemployment, I have to show that I'm striving to make up for the original pay I am at, right? And if I don't do that when I go back into the like to go their contract, right? Then like I would refer to like, hey, but this is how much value I bring to my community. So like if I need to help you build something that's gonna save your dollars, like you paying me for what I'm helping you conserve in a fair way, like not so, like, right? So like that's why it like, and also that was the transformation that I got from the sales training was like, I'm not selling you snake oil and I'm not a sleazy salesperson that's just trying to make a dollar, right? I'm genuinely interested in helping local businesses stay afloat, first of all, but more than that, thrive, because like there is an economic shift and there are going to be more layoffs due to AI. And it doesn't be that way. Like I'm not the loss of opportunity from AI, and I want to transmit that to you. And if you're someone who has nothing to do with AI, but you like taking care of babies, I can't do enough for like keeping me inspired, like for putting in my comment and saying like I'd be interested, right? Like that's all I need is like these tiny of like knowing that it means to somebody, because I could just build this for myself and just like, but at the same time, and I'm gonna speak religious. I think that somebody named Solomon, like, who I think is somebody in the Bible or something like that, like would say like you should putting out the word for what you do so that people can come and like get your with the service you're providing, right? So I'm not selling you anything. I'm like offering you the service that I think will be really helpful. And for me to continue to offer you that service, like I do need to be able to cover like my own food, shelter, water, sense of belonging, security, like health for my dogs, myself, my people, my food, right? So like it's an exchange. It's a fair exchange. Um, so the are minimal considering that like I'm taking stuff that has me years to learn and like crunching it to like a kindergarten representation to where literally all you do is swap out a sentence once you get your systems in place. And then you have the digital asset, the traffic, the data, and like the understanding of how to use the data, right? Because Gemini just put out something where you can use Google Docs and they will analyze your data for you. I still think that like yes, a lot of people are going to use that, but also like how would you even know where to begin to use that? And what if Google was another one of Google's failed projects? Because they have a lot of projects where they like suck all people into what they're doing, and then apparently like then they like call it on a project, and then there goes everything that you had built around that project or what you had paid for or were hoping to do with it. And like I'm not suffer from that because like the way I set it up, it's like I own data, I own the digital assets, I own the traffic, like I know on my websites, I know how much traffic I'm sending to someone else, right? Because and it's all written into these like super scaled, simple, minimal code written in HTML, which is different from someone who that to have someone to go fix a Node React website that looks really fancy, or like they need to make one little change, they need to find a team to like change something in cloud. Like none of that here, right? This is all like out of the box. Like you just make your system work. I can help you do that, but it shouldn't be that tricky because I put in like everything that you need. Not I didn't give you the fish. I teach you how to fish, right? In these like very structured courses. Um, so it is September the 20th, 2024. So right now, like those are bucks for the download because it has everything you need. literally everything. And there's optional workshops you can sign up for that I used to have for free, but like I have enough people asking for them now. I don't have to make them for free. And also, like, if you give stuff away, people don't appreciate it as much. And I ended up waiting for people that didn't show up more than once. And I was like, I don't need to do that to myself. Like, I'll just like, make sure that the people that find value in it are the ones that I'm showing up for, right? Not that it didn't inspire me, like the days that they didn't show up, because I just used it as an opportunity to make more content and to refine, what I'm producing for other people that wanted person business or are solopreneurs or entrepreneurs. Or like one of the use cases is like if you have an elderly parent, they can't necessarily read all of the fine print, and like they have all these doctors, just making it easier for people to get to use O1 preview, which is the fancier models, right? So that you can have these different types of agents that are called reasoners, that are, like I said at the very beginning, are like the ones that can be like your little brain, little version, mini versions of you that are fine to go make decisions on specific tasks. And honestly, like, I've seen it for myself. Like, they make better decisions than I do. And I think that's part of like accepting that if they're scoring out of the box, like, outscoring physicists and chemists and mathematicians and stuff, like, I have to accept that I'm like, not always the right person to make all the decisions. And this has, I did use Zachariah a lot to like come up with this plan and what to look at. And it was actually Owen Preview that told me like I'm spending too much time posting on YouTube when I should actually be making courses to sell on Udemy or one of these digital educational platforms. It literally told me like this is why you don't have more people in your funnel, because you're not posting on Udemy, and this is why your revenue is not higher, is because you're not getting more people into your funnel. And so the solution to that is spend more time making courses, less time trying to find the right audience on YouTube and making new things. Don't go making new things. And then it helped me discover the names of the websites that I should put into my automation that I have already, which is a separate thing that I sell and that has already shown me in my own data like that it is working and it's quite effective, right? And that I also learned from other people that are putting stuff on YouTube, how they're generating income and stuff, right? So like it took all this data, and instead of me spending years trying to figure out what I'm doing wrong or paying like thousands more dollars for a business analyst or anything like that, within less than 10 minutes, me and Owen Preview were like, oh yeah, like that totally makes sense. And then this morning, I was preparing for I guess, a testimonial for the sales training that I got. And then I started thinking about, well, what could I say about it, right? And then the way that the guidance was to get to understanding my mission versus my business's mission, and understanding how they needed to crunch. I came to that realization with meditation, right? That was probably like the biggest reason, which is something that AI couldn't detect, because the AI can't see my meditation. So I need a neural link, please. Because apparently you can read your mind now. You need a neural link so I can like fast track my meditations. Just kidding. So that, what, maybe, am I kidding? I don't know. But the point of that I'm making is that like I decided that instead of like, trying to find everyone everywhere, I'm not going to shift this part of my content creation, because the automation doesn't care if you're a doctor or if you're a trucker or if you are an energy healer. It doesn't care. It doesn't matter. Like, the system works the same because it's data. It's data driven, not like, niche driven, right? So that said, though, like, I'm gonna stop trying to make more products and like, focus on making things for dogs. And I think I will use that as the what do you call it? The thumbnail for this. So like, I was talking to the dogs, right? And I was like, you guys need jobs. You look at you sitting here looking at me, like, feed us while we sit here and nap in front of your face while you're working. And so then I asked the AI to help me design way for the dogs to poop, to scoop their own poop, and it came up with this design because before I left Boulder, like, I told my shaman, I was like, I think my soul's mission is to figure out how to make shoes for dogs with skinny ankles, because my service dog's a Doberman and she has super skinny ankles. And then she taught kindergarten with me, and she's been on airplanes, and then she went to see you Boulder with me, right? And so sometimes, some of course, my classes were 10 minutes apart on opposite sides of the campus. So me and this Doberman had to sprint from one class to another every Tuesday and Thursday. It felt like every semester. So I was in amazing shape, but her shoes kept flying off, and then my classmates would be like, "Why isn't she wearing a shoe? Like, why did you take off the one shoe?" And it's like, no, they don't stay. And then so I put on these. That dog has so many fancy ass shoes, like more shoes than I have that cost more than mine do. And she, like, one of them was made out of rubber tires. They were hunting shoes, and you had to put, like, per their instructions, you had to put duct tape around the top to make them stay so that the shoes don't fly off. So I did that, and then my instructor came over to her and was like, "Oh, do you guys not have money for shoes? Don't worry, you're gonna have money for shoes one day." I was like, "What?" Killing you. But that dog's shoes are so expensive. But anyway, so like, I need to do more stuff like that because my soul's mission is to, like, it has to do with AI. I know that for sure. I just know that the computer digital stuff, like, it's just part of my core. And then the dog thing, like, I've always known that since I was a kid, that, like, I'm supposed to just, like, bring dogs closer to mankind. So I need to build stuff more like that versus more digital products, but I can feed those ideas into these funnels more easily, and then just let the rest of the stuff just basically follow, right? And then I thought about all the data. There's, like, so much data. I've collected so many data points that show that, like, actually things for pets are actually one of the most lucrative businesses out there ever, right? Ever, throughout time, especially since the internet. And even through depressions, like, people will still spend money on their pets, especially people like me that don't have children, because during depressions people will always continue to buy candy, like sweets, and they will always continue to buy stuff for their kids. At least that's the way it's been in through every depression ever. And then I found out also that, like, people do a lot of home renovations during depressions, so that was, like, pretty interesting news to hear. So yeah, so then I'm going to shift away from, like, developing the next great thing and the next great thing. I'm going to stick to these two things because they're already built. Even this one, I'm not sure that that's like maybe I'm not supposed to be asking for arms dealers licenses. I actually am not even allowed to have weapons because I'm badass. But I actually, like, waive my rights to get to bear arms in exchange for fiduciary protection from the government. Totally worth it because I grew up during MacGyver eras. So you think this is just a box of markers? It's not just a box of markers. Just saying, people in Europe don't need guns. Like, I don't need guns, right? So I hope that the government doesn't come and take my box of markers. But I wanted the arms dealer's license because they get to use the most cutting edge AI, even if there's, like, government sanctions or, like, government control over it. But I'm gonna just, like, actually do what I'm saying and, like, pivot, right? Because it's not been easy. And if I'm doing the right thing in the right way at the right time for the right people, it's more easy. Like, it's more like synchronistic. And I've experienced that throughout my life many times, right? And so it just feels better to align my soul's mission with my business's mission a little bit better. That doesn't mean that these products are still not awesome and available and already made anyway. And, like, all I have to do is just get them into the purchasability phase, right? So that they're downloadable. And I already have most of that set up so that you click a link, you pay, you get your product, and then I have automation for signing up for Zoom calls. Like, you pay for the Zoom, you show up, you ask your questions, right? You get the help that you need, but you really shouldn't need my help because I teach you how to get the answers straight from the AI in a faster way than I could. But there are definitely instances where, like, if you don't know some of the stuff you don't know, then it's almost impossible to fix some of these problems still. This is September 20th, 2024, right? So yes, so well, I'm just, like, restating because I've stated it earlier, but like, change once we get the, like, uh of that comes after reasoners. Um, but so like some just need like a little bit more like guidance, right? So that's so and I was a teacher for like 9 years, you know. In high school I taught immigrants English enough to be able to pass their exams to get their what's it called? Like their cards or whatever. Um for the citizenship. So like I've always been a teacher. Even in high school, like I did not do well because nobody knew I was dyslexic and it was really wasn't a common thing, but like I understood geometry. It was an easy like my freshman year was like easier than all the other years. I did like really well at the beginning of my freshman year, and then after that, like I graduated a year early because I got to graduate 13th versus if I graduated with my real class, like I would have been like number like 80 or something. I was like, oh, that like the adds up, right? I'm out of here with like the class. I'm just kidding, class of 98. I'm just kidding a little bit. You guys made it too easy. But the whole like soul alignment, right? Like I would rather talk about stupid shit like I did versus spend my life like trying to put together technical manuals and like like I'm watching like Osmond and like all the other like reactors, like, even proud their own real original content. They talk about other people's content. I was like, and they have millions of followers. Like, what am I doing? Like sitting here like, oh, should I present this when I could just be like, that right? Let's look at this. Consider this viewpoint, right? Like, man, can you imagine like having the automation to do all this stuff, getting to play with my dogs all day, and then I like for like social till my humanoid shows up, and apparently in September is a good time to start trying to meet people. Though I mean, like like I have a hard time with that. Fact, I'm gonna build like a see like because this is already built. Like I can build anything, right? And there was like one way I was talking about like how the future, and this is the future now. Like, because you said this a few months ago, like you will be meeting people like your digital twin will meet other digital twins profiles, and then like the will like try to narrow down because you look like this and you have this size brain like options. It's so hard to decide what to do on a Friday night, right? um and like like all like pretty syndrome is solved mid 40s, so like yeah, like long past I guess that era, but I still don't have issues with that. um uh, Now it's like maybe it'll be easier to manage, or maybe now that I actually like went through the sales training, which actually prompted me to go to counseling, which I started like this week, actually. Now I'm happy, like I'm happy on the inside, like now would make a quality like partner. This like trust me, like that I was like in way, shape, or form in any condition to like provide support for anybody, because I was like, I gotta like solve a lot of shit in here first. But I, now, but according to some psychics, like in is like the right time. That doesn't mean I don't have things to do this week. Just saying, right? All I said, right? To like that, all those things are like feeding into this, like, oh my god, why isn't this shit working, right? Like I should be making more money faster, like more people should be reaching out to me, like I'm all this content, right? So then the AI helped me figure out, like, okay, well, put not the quality, it's not like how often, it's like where you're putting your content and what you're trying to make your first round of sales. There's data that shows that actually educational material is what most people sell first when they first start on their entrepreneur journey, because you're like learning your craft better. You're showing that you know your craft, and people want to learn your craft like as you're leaving the trail, because success leaves clues, right? So like that's when like it was this week, I believe. Yeah, it was this week. When lights turned on in there, right? No, not all lights. Like it's not like I've ever acted in the dark, but going to the sales training, right, and understanding like what is my mission, what even is my business trying to do, and then like after just like meditating in the morning. It's like understanding like, okay, well, this is suddenly more fun again. Because I'll be honest, like it was brutal. Like those educational materials, not the funnest thing, right? Like because like yeah, they can help you like try to scaffold it, but I know like as who has taught, so 30 times 9, like 270 children, right? I know that the lesson plan that the AI laid out was like not to what I would do as a teacher that understands that there's like tiered IERED learning that needs to take place with the same part in structured material, and that like there was definitely a way to easier present the information, easier to present and to understand and to implement, right? Because that is what I'm solving for. Like I that would most people from any of this is like having set up the lambda and the cores, which is the cross origin, like so your cloud can talk to like the GPT API. That's a bitch, and like me like oh my god, I want to unliven myself, which is a common thing people say in computer science labs. Please don't tell the PA that I'm like threatening to have a plan. I don't. That's just people say there all the time. Okay, like it's really frustrating. But like I made sure that the instructions were clear, that they're like replicable, and so that you get the benefit of just building the thing, which is how I came to closer to right here. Like I would say right now, I'm like right here, right? I had other metrics like so my are like line revenue and the to one, so the many to one that are asking me for services or products, because I do have some, right? Like definitely had people ask me, I don't have a shortage of job opportunities at like a job, right? But I'm transitioning from working for somebody for to working for a business as a vendor, which is different from a contractor. Okay. Those are my two metrics. I'm just making sure that I have like okay, I need water. So they don't pay me. I don't get sponsored by anybody, and I don't think I ever will accept like sponsorship payout. I can't say for sure. Like they're like maybe markers, like doesn't directly impact my ability to give you the most authentic information. You want to send me microphones, markers, more of these boards. What else? I'm partial to Macs. Like I really like a Mac with the silicone chip. If you make kombucha, like I'll drink it. Like how do they like I'll drink it in this clever way, right? So that like the placement thing, right? I won't be like, buy kombucha. I drank some today. I'll be like, oh, this stuff tastes delicious. Man, what flavor is this? Health Aid kombucha? Pomegranate and blueberry. I'm gonna send some to my grandma. Just when my grandma's passed. Right? But like that like that's no like all aside, if you are going to promote yourself on TikTok, you need to be clever like that, right? Like they don't want salesy shit on there. Like you'll get banned if you don't claim that you're trying to sell. But if you let them know you're trying to sell, then not everybody sees your content. But if you're like clever, just a little bit more suave about it, it just goes down easier. Because I know that I pay extra to not have to watch ads, which is crazy, right? Like it's I have to like pay people to let me watch them talk about other people's videos, but not like about products. But no, like all, but for, well, I shouldn't say, but no, I'm gonna say, and yes, I will always maintain my integrity in terms of at least my capacity and my understanding of what the tech does. If I were to get an arms dealer's license and I was writing tech that was going to make something that wiped out organic life, even if it's blades of grass, like I openly say that, unless I signed for some security reasons, like I respect this country and like I talk about stuff I saw in the Navy, and I didn't even see anything crazy. Even in the crypto, like the few months I was in the crypto side, but I still have like it's like a year, like you can talk for 20 years about some stuff, right? So if I got something like that, like yeah, I keep my mouth shut because that's what I agreed to because it was for reasons that I aligned with, right? Just like when I've left companies and signed non-disclosures or joined companies and signed non-disclosures, I would talk about that, right? But still, like if it set me a processor like they did Matt Wolf, I don't know if he ever made videos about him using that processor. I have no idea, but it was like let's say like some manufacturer, right? Or like Tesla, a Tesla bot, right? Like yeah, be partial to Tesla bots, or like didn't Sanchez like contribute to Figure Eight? See, I've thought about moving to Austin. Like I really am like plan because I'm calling me the same way Boulder did when I moved to Boulder or ended up in Boulder, right? It's calling me. So I feel like eventually I'm gonna end up in Austin. Um and I don't know when, but maybe not, part of like accepting the journey, right? Because I don't have to be anywhere. But I do need to take another sip of this Palisade kombucha, pomegranate, blueberry flavored. Good. Even the like like they packaged it, it's like because I'm pink with red and I must taste good for that reason. And they even have like the flavor thing. Should hire me to do the marketing. All right, so back to this chart, right? Actually, this is the nitty gritty. So if I remember to, I'll put in the comments that you should really just scroll to 1 hour 22 minutes. And I'm gonna go faster in this part because this part is like when I'm in my flow state, and it's the other side of my brain that is just like spitting the stuff that's like the that are all connected, right? Okay, so like, I'm time box 5 minutes. Like this, the probably most important part of the video of like how stochastic gradient descent all ties into all the stuff that I was talking about earlier, which is still even more important than this because it doesn't matter how technically skilled you are, you gotta solve whatever the thing is, you gotta solve that first on a fucking soul level, especially if you're going through a quarter life or midlife crisis, like you solve the thing inside because this is an inside job and then like everything gets easier. Otherwise you're just Sisyphus, the guy that like kept rolling the rock up the hill and it kept rolling backwards. Like this is the way to circumvent Sisyphus, but you do need to do the soul work, right? Whatever that means to you. Like I can dictate, you know, um, the inside too, so that it transmutes to the outside. So, um, okay, so I think you can see this, but it just says like AI as a software. So that's one category. Educational, choose do both things like automation and the AI via API. So I decided I'm not going to do educational stuff on automation in Python, especially because the models are able to code, like you can ask it to write automation for you. So like a lot harder to teach. And you have like 200 plus with automation. So like I can easily add as many URLs as I want for like dirt cheap. And what this course that I'm like making available to teach you or to build for you. Okay. Of these three categories was like what I was asking the AI, like how do I decide what is the most expeditious way to get to my metrics, which is more net revenue and more many to one people coming to me to ask me for the thing, right? So the way that this breaks down is I could either focus on lead generation blogs or I could focus on affiliate market links and sales and linking to people's businesses that ask me for that service. Um, and AI was like, just do both. Like you much already have it, and I agree. Like I just have to fix my AWS account because they cancel it if you don't make any sales for like a certain amount of time. And since I hadn't worked on it, like it didn't that, so I just need to enter my EIN again and all that, which is the business number, like security number for your business. And just we talked about these educational things. Like I'm gonna not spend time on automation with Python, right? Because that's gonna wait and like this already pretty much done, and I've already verified that it should work for any circumstance, any operating system, Windows, Macintosh, beginners, like mid-level. As long as you have like having this like minimal, like talking like you figure out how to click your mouse, like you should be able to make it work. It's not easy, but I also show you how to get your own answers through like the AI, so that you're never stuck, right? And if you do get stuck, that's why I make available the Zooms very regularly that are not free, but you should really like not need them. And the reason is because then now like that we have Strawberry or the O1 model, or it used to be called Q Star. Who knows? Maybe these are all just like I don't know, but whichever like the models, like no matter which latest model is available, like this code and this system will still work because of the way the code is written and the API is written, and you will never have to struggle finding, pardon me, a developer to go fix this thing. Like you will always be able to go back to this thing. That's why I wrote it that way. And the isn't going to have to spit out lines and lines of complex Python code that might or might not work, even though it's getting better and better. Excuse me, like you like switch your sentence or your prompt, and then it works every time. And then from this, I can actually build on other courses that make it like more specific. Like I want to always know exactly what's on all the pages on my website so that someone can just go ask it questions. Or I want it to be able to answer questions if someone's going to hire me. I want them to ask my AI questions instead of them having to ask me directly. Here's all my um resumes, whatever, like stuff like that, right? Or like my dating profile. I want you to help me like memory that you have of me and like help me make it better, or like you know all sorts of things like that, right? So like, once you build the one, it's very easy to build as many use cases as you want. You might started out being a babysitter, but then you're like, man, I'd rather just build these like um called reasoners. So it was chatbots and then agents, and right now we're in the age of reasoners. Okay, like in a year we are already more than halfway to what AGI is, which is like, right? But don't say nobody saw it coming. I have my most impressive video is the one where I say I think I built a baby AGI. This was like not even a year ago, and like I did because it just has like um to use its own logic to make reasoning decisions based on branching. But anyway, like all of that can be done with these systems. There's like one where you can just ask something questions, upload a file, and then it can like tell you something about whatever you uploaded. You can adapt it for whatever you need for your business, for yourself, for your aging parents that might not want to read all of their own medical records, right? The data is yours. Like, whatever case you can think of, I wrote the code that way, so it's abstracted enough. That's what it means to be able to write automation, which I did professionally, like for about 2 years. Okay, so gradient descent, right? Like I say, I like, what am I doing wrong? We decided I need to focus on making these educational materials, and I can tell you, like, almost immediately, like the next day when I shifted my focus to that, is when I got like 4 leads coming in. Like I didn't have to go knock doors, make phone calls. Like they came to me, right? Other than I had to make sure that I was findable and I rank at the top for this stuff, right? So like now that was solved with the automation. So like that's why I sell like be findable, rank at the top, because people will come looking for you, but they need to know where you are. So you still do marketing, but it's not the expensive marketing. It's not through Google. It's not through Facebook, and it's like guerrilla style, because I really did learn a lot of like interesting ways to get things done in the different places I worked at and stuff that I know, and just like kinds of level stuff, right? All and just to be clear, all of it is ethical and AI safety aligned. Okay, just be clear. Okay, not taking jobs from anybody. We're like just making sure that our business has clients, right? So if you I'm to take someone's job because you're do it better, that was my I never actually hired anybody. When I was gonna, I decided I would rather spend the time building my reasoners than training a human. So I didn't take the job from a human. I just the reasoner. But there are new things that I need from humans that I might pay for in the future, but I'm trying to build a one person business. So that's not my goal. My goal isn't to keep more humans employed. My goal is to reach my metrics, right? And if, never said that it was my responsibility to do business for other people, but with my business thriving, right, I can manage to have the uh Airbnb, vets and their pets, and all the other real estate I have, and like need with from with the lawn, you know what I mean? Like down, maybe not necessarily in the business, but because of the business, right? Just to be clear, like that need for vindication, like you're not pushing evil, you're not taking jobs, you're like creating a better life for yourself, and that trickles down to other systems that are like dependent, you're thriving. Okay, so the other is stochastic gradient descent, right? Like where I had to go back and like be aware with what I'm doing and like make sure it's aligned with my soul and like how I feel about things. And I'm not just selling stuff to make money. I'm like making sure that you also are successful to my best of my ability by giving you a system that like is replicable. And that's how we get to this part that we are at right here. Because I think before I'm ever able to feel okay with what I'm selling you, I need to make sure that you're really clear on what this is, because I invented this. Like nobody told me this, but I'm an architect. Like that's the scientist. Like I should be able to invent something, right? Especially I have all these years understanding like the space. So I don't. Can you see this? Yes, you can. You can't see the words so easily. See if I can bring it. But I'll read them to you in any case. Okay. So like, like the right. This is like when I finally get to have like the on itself and people are downloading the product and it's the flywheels are turning and like everything that I need is in place. Like that's X marks the spot. Um, okay, that's pirate. That's why I call it digital pirates.media. Like literally, like, we are the first voyaging out there in this way that I know of. And I scour, right? But I also like literally thought it up. It's not like the AI thought it up for me. I was like, I can connect these pieces. I've been building this since last year, on and off, like when I had time between contracts and jobs and stuff and other life duties. So internet, see, I'm blocking the light right there. Okay, the was like this, right? This your keywords right here, like that dot, like the food that Pac-Man used to go chase, like it would be inside of the matrix, right? If you think about the internet as a matrix, which it is, that's what the algorithms are. Like the basically define the matrix, right? The matrices that your viewers, so like the or the client, whatever, like the looking for your thing, right? Like they the algorithms push them to where your thing is. You just have to make sure that you're in the way of the algorithm, which is what keywords and SEO and having the right hashtags means, like digitally. So like the have the path. So like all you had to do was make sure to be in the right place at the right time when the user or the client or the prospect is upon that path. That's the way it was, right? And then so what it says is traditional internet with only keywords. The algorithms always go to the keywords and the changes or updates to Google are predictable. So that's why a lot of people talk about the to the algorithms is because they feel like they're so unpredictable now. Like we don't even know. Okay, well, if you truly understand algorithms, which I excelled at, I did get an A in that class. But I still like I'm so good at algorithms because I really understand cryptography and it's all just a matter of understanding patterns, right? But even beyond that, like you can actually position yourself, which is how I wrote all of this, right? Like, so no matter what the algorithms are doing, like, not are you always in the path of the algorithms, no matter what happens to the algorithms, you are actually like the prized food that Pac-Man wants, which is like when the ghosts are like blinking in and out. And if you've never played Pac-Man, and this is talking from like something that happened in the 80s and you're a millennial, basically uh get as many points as possible. You used to be able to get them from pellets, right? You can always get them from pellets in Pac-Man, but then if the about to like layout is about to change, the ghosts start to flash different colors. Typically the ghosts will kill you. But are flashing different colors, you actually make a lot of points by eating them. So you can always be, instead of being the pellet, right? You can always be like one of the ghosts, no matter what happens to the algorithms. And like, I'm gonna be out of camera for a second. And but actually, like, I want to make this point because this is like the shift in these algorithms, and I don't want to knock everything down here. Okay, so I'm gonna see if I can show you this more clearly. Right? This is harder than it looks, right? I'm trying to use like it's the opposite of what I think it's gonna be. So it's gonna be this way, right here. Okay, like what is this Pac-Man right here? The algorithms are like he can take many paths. We don't even have quantum computers yet. When we have quantum computers, like he could be in more than one place at the same time, making decisions about which is the best next many paths it could take, right? So that's a very, very level way of thinking about it. But if you look at it like, right, compare Pac-Man can do now that we have AI and that we have like AI engines, right? Like now, man can go wherever, right? Versus over here, Pac-Man was gonna have like one path to get to the pallet, right? And over here, okay, like to get to this ghost, right? So like, and he has all these different ways. Am I making you guys dizzy? So he has all these ways. I should have just put this camera on one of those stands. But anyway, I don't even know if you can hear me because I'm way over here and this microphone's way over here. So let me try to make sure that you can hear me. Okay, so to reiterate, so how Pac-Man now have like this is what it means to have AI search engines. This is what it means to have. We don't even have, like I said, quantum computing yet, but that will be available soon enough. Like it's around the corner, which means that he can even be in more than one path at the same time, making decisions. Right. So he no longer has this just what Matthew would call it discrete path, like discrete that it's basically boxed in, or it has like one that it can follow. So Pac-Man, so this is the way the internet used to look. Like the right here, the algorithms are the purple paths. No matter what, as long as you had your keywords, eventually the would lead Pac-Man to your keywords and your SEO. Now you don't have to play the part of just a palette because of the way that these files are written that I'm letting you know about over here. Like the way like these and what I show you in that first downloadable course, you can actually be like this ghost that when it flashes when the algorithms are about to change, they're actually worth a lot more money and they're no longer deadly, right? So like you no longer will be caught in the trap of like once algorithms change over here, like you're with your stuck in the mud keywords and SEO that won't work when the algorithms change because if my dot was over here in this algorithm, right? Like the would have never found him with my SEO and my keywords. So I have to like change my SEO and my keywords. Well, the difference is in what I'm showing you with the stuff I'm building, right? And I show you how to build in these courses. You can position yourself like this guy. So like that like the agents. This is why I don't use low code, no code. Further, that's why I put JSON inside of the HTML. That's why I chose HTML is because I have like very control of what it is that the algorithm is able to use to detect that the food that Pac-Man is looking for is there. So like over here, all he has is like SEO and keywords, right? And most people use WordPress. Very people use HTML because they think it's so outdated and so 70s or whatever. But I think that's the biggest mistake people are making is they have these elaborate websites or even this like minimal website, but they don't have finite control of the code that lies underneath because at the end of the day, everything goes back to ones and zeros. And the way that I wrote the code for this, I mean, I don't know if HTML falls under code, but we'll just call it that for now. So the way that I wrote the code for this, it so that the man, no matter what path he takes, is able to find you because it's like a flashing light. It's like, hey, I'm over here. Like, oh, you're looking for this? I'm right here. Like, no matter what happens to your algorithms, Pac-Man, like, I'm right here. and I'm worth a lot more to you than like these static video um like methods. Okay, I'm not saying they're not relevant, they are, but why would I do that when I can actually have this, right? Where I don't have to be worried at night that I didn't pick my correct keywords, or like, you know, someone's gonna come and take all my content and then they're be able to like knock me off my pedestal, and like I no longer have a lead gen. These lead gens are different because they're not competing with the top lead gens. What they're doing is they're hijacking traffic, hence the name digital pirates. So like when they're looking for something, right? Like, yeah, will still be the ones that rank at the top on Google, but like these actually also start to rank because they will be more specific to the question that the user is asking. And that is also the way that the intent works. That's also the way long tail keywords work. That's the big shift between keywords and like specific intent questions. And I believe that the other developers are calling it is actually SERPs, where like it's not, it's like god, I believe I forgot the word, but it's like when you have like real specific, like really little like tables, like listed with numbers. That's the Google AI search engines are looking for, right? That's the kind of content that they're pushing to the top. That's exactly what's already built into the lead gens that I'm selling. That is part of this. I'm not teaching people how to do that, but that is one of the things I'm selling. But when you do this, right, that is one of the, when you use these AI, the software methods for the course that I am making available, where you can build your own version of a chatbot that's not just a low code, no code chatbot that's already outdated. It's not just an AI agent, it's a reasoner, right? It has the, I'm sorry, it has the ability to become a reasoner. Like, then is when you're really going to be able to like hit your jackpot, which is what I'm doing, which is probably why you found me and then reached out to me, which is why I'm making this video, because I'm about being findable and rank at the top. Well, I never said what the top was, right? For me, the top is like the top of the very specific question, not the top of Google search, because Google search is so like 2024. Kidding. Google search is still going to be a big player, but it's not the only player anymore. And because they've refined their algorithms, like this AI search engine stuff, I've been testing it for over a year. It's really working. Like now that we're in the age of reasoners, because of the way that I'm teaching you how to write these like little chatbots that are based in code that is replicable and timeless, right? No matter what, it's gonna work. There, unless the whole internet collapses, which like nobody, it's gonna, even if there's a quantum internet, this stuff will still likely work because quantum computers solve for something different than the internet that is based on TCP/IP. Like who knows, right? But for our purposes, like there's no psychic predictions or technical predictions or governmental predictions that the way that the internet works right now is going to shift dramatically, and the AI doesn't think so either. That's how you can bank on these reasoners. So like, see little reasoners, these are like this the highly valuable Pac-Man, he can make his own little reasoner, right? And then I'm sorry, the highly valuable food for Pac-Man can make little reasoners so it's more findable. And then Pac-Man can make its own reasoners that make it able to go hunt, right? So you have all these reasoners that are able to meet each other and execute whatever you need to execute. In computer terms, that means like press return key or press the click pay on PayPal or Link or Stripe, right? Like that's what the reasoners are prepping to do. So the reasoners can now go make decisions to find you the thing that you want. You're more findable when you use those structures that I'm like teaching in the chatbot making thing. Or if you hire me to build some of these for you, like they're to be able to accept payments and make payments so that you are always positioned to optimize your sales funnel, um because you no longer need that brief, how would you say it, like you don't need to be worried about whether or not they're going to find what they're looking for this way, right? And so like when, to give you a more concrete example, because I can see how that would sound confusing and contradictory. So like if is looking for the best dog shoes out there, right? Like they'll go to Google and they'll type in best dog shoes and they'll get the results from the Google search results this way, right? Like there'll be some business at the top and then the next business. But if I have a Doberman, right? Best dog shoes for Dobermans, and my website is best dog shoes for Dobermans, and my content is written in this way that I'm like I have already built and created, right? And I do have videos on how I did that. Like that would be really hard to teach that stuff because it's so like algorithms, and I doubt that someone's gonna use AI to extract them and like make their own thing. That's fine. Like a limit to this space in the near the limit. But if they make their very specific search, right? Best dog shoes for dogs whose shoes always come off, right? I have content that answers that specific question. The AI search engines are going to bring up my answers first. And the data shows that more people are using Perplexity and more people are using AI, Google search, right? And even if they're not, eventually my organic ranking for dog shoes is going to start to catch up with the Google people over here, right? Because my blog also has a homepage where within my homepage, if there's a company that hires me to sell their dog shoes, right? All of my content has their business name sprinkled all in it. So people are going to start to click on my links that send them to that website so they can buy their shoes. So then this is hijacking traffic. So I am sending the signal to the Google engines and the other engines like, hey, website, people really look to that website for dog shoes. I hope that makes sense. It's like I decided on the title digital media because it is what pirates do. You like hijack the traffic. And like I 2 years in the Navy, not impressive of a career, but still like a sailor at heart. And I talk about building your digital army or your AI army because these reasoners are like your level of preparation for like this shift in how we use the internet, right? So like you are going to be out there, like being able to make deals with people that are looking for clients, or when people that are the clients are sending out their reasoners to look for the thing that they need to buy, like they you. And the big thing to remember is that these reasoners are not humans, all right? Like the that I show you and the way that the chatbots work are human readable. But at the end of the day, very soon, it's not going to be us humans making the decisions. It's going to be the algorithms in combination with these reasoners, because preparing for the next evolution of what it means to have AI unleashed in the digital space and then the robot space, which is the that basically what is it called? Let me see, because there's like a specific word for it. Let me find it. It is the innovators, right? So like innovators are the ones, so like your can help you come up with solutions that you never could have thought of as a human alone. I have experiences myself. I'm under non-disclosure, so I can't talk about some stuff, but it is like mind-blowing. Like when you know how to use this stuff, and it's so cheap now, it like are accessible, but this is what like big are doing to discover like better to do things that gives them a bigger bottom line, costs less, is a better experience for the person that's buying the service or the product, and overall better for the planet. Like every type of optimization, your reasoners are going to be able to like understand that better than we ever could because they deal with hyperparameters and latent, and which we're calling latent space apparently is what the AI said. But the match to like get to their best answer more quickly with less compute and stuff. Like it's becoming so accessible. So you, if you're positioned in this way, right, then you're gonna do better. So if you were to ask me, well, why aren't there any papers written about it? Well, I invented it, right? Maybe other people are coming up with it at the same time. I don't know, but I haven't ran into anybody else that has. Like the issue that I was creating for myself was trying to sell the instead of selling you the solutions, I'm letting you know in the business of anything, right? Like either up to learn how to just build it yourself, right? Whatever app you want to sell, whatever business you're trying to sell, whatever idea you have that you need to put out in the market, right? Just build it yourself with these chatbots, because the websites of the future are more minimalistic. They look more like the ChatGPT interface, where just like people just want to type in questions. They don't want to read through all your crap, right? Sorry to sound so like crass. That's the truth. Um, like minimal. That's why I built those web pages that way, the ones that you're able to learn from me, and then to get traffic over to your business, right? Instead of dumping thousands of dollars into your Google or whatever, if you're in a super desperate emergency where you have to get clients through your door, right? In which case, I would say like, well, to just use that to make sure you can self-sustain. But everybody has their own reasons and systems, right? Like need that, let me know. I know a guy, I know a few guys and women that are really good at that. Myself, I'm not as interested in pushing those ads, but I can show you how to be highly profitable for minimal cost. And I think that that's Zachariah, like, hey, I was gonna get to be there today. We will talk to Zachariah in a minute. Just turn off this noise. All right. So when pirates make treasure maps, right? Like they know where the treasure is and they know how to get there, but not everybody knows that the treasure is there, and not everybody believes them, and not everybody wants to go on that adventure, right? That's why I picked the pirates. When you are going to dominate something, you need an army and you need your navy, right? And like the Air Force side of it and the Marines side, I think we will see the analogies to those when, and the Space Force, we will see the analogies to those as the next levels unfold, which are we say the innovators and the full organizations, right? So this is all in preparation for having like AI that basically run your organization for you. So when people talk about one person business, like I'm next level one person business, right? Like basically like I the enter key one time and then it does everything for me. And I don't have to sit around and think about it anymore. Like we're so close to that and people don't really know that. Um and how you fit into all of this? Well, you're basically like the that stores the points. So like either you're gonna watch the point, you're one of the machines that is able to capture the points, right? So you're not the ghost, you're not Pac-Man, you're not the algorithm. Like you're the one that can either get the points in your bucket or you can watch the points be distributed to other places on the internet. That's like your decision, right? So when people started to tell people, hey, you should buy .coms because you can make money, like yeah, it's a bubble, but like the that understood enough made a ton of money off of the .com bubble, right? Like not everyone went bankrupt. Only people that didn't listen to like the that knew what they were talking about. When when the real estate crash happened, some of us got really good deals on real estate, right? Because we knew that it was a game and we knew how to win the game, right? Because we didn't buy the hype, we didn't let our doubts get in the way, or maybe we didn't know enough to not doubt it. When Apple came out, a lot of people made a lot of money on that stock. When what else? Like Windows came out, right? Like a lot of people made money on that stock. When crypto came out, like a lot of people got made a lot of money. Like the people in line to get Bitcoin, right? I'm not telling you to go buy Bitcoin. I am like a foremost expert on Bitcoin. But I'm not giving you Bitcoin advice. I'm saying it's an example. Like when Corcoran heard about the internet, she was one of the first ones in New York to start posting real estate. She's the one of the women on Shark Tank, the one with the short hair, right? That's how she made a killing. Was like her military let her know about the internet, and she was like, "Oh, why don't we start posting some of our real estate there?" That aside with her business savvy and like her personality and her perseverance, right? Like it wasn't the internet. That's what gave her that edge. That's what I'm trying to tell people right now. Like sign up with me right now. It's still pretty affordable. And like like being yourself, right, is one of them. Rank at the top, be findable, fail fast, fail early, fail often with stochastic gradient descent, right? That's what I'm doing. That's why you found me or I found you. Who knows? Like I'm already agents out. Like I'm already this, like these should be more clear. Like I already putting these out, these reasoners. And honestly, mostly I have these right now, like agents. You probably this little guy right here. So no matter what happens, right? No matter what YouTube or Google or TikTok or anybody does, anybody that owns any platforms, even Twitch and any of them, like no matter what we do, like I will be findable, right? And I will still rank at the top of like the more questions that have actually shown to bring you as much revenue, especially if you're not like banking on at the top of the Google search stuff, which from my understanding is mostly like roofers, doctors, and maybe electricians. Like they're the ones that really make a lot of money off of being at the top of Google. But every business that is in the top three of Google searches ends up with 70% of the money. That's why it matters to rank at the top. This stuff still makes it so that the business owner ranks at the top, right? By sending traffic to the website, which helps your SEO. I feel like I'm just going in circles now. And I just hope that like this little plan definite like description of this is looking like is a little bit easier to understand. And like I said, the people that don't understand this, well, I can't agree to. But even when I'm learning something new, right? Like I have to stop and press pause, and then I have to, and like lately, just dump the information into the AI. But there's also times like I nuclear chemist that graduated at the top of his nuclear chemist class in the Navy. He told me like the reason I did so well is because sometimes I just pressed the I believe button. Like I wasn't sitting there trying to understand it all. I was just like, oh, these are the instructions, okay. And same to me with like learning how to do sales better. I wasn't trying to understand everything. I just made sure I had my questions answered for how to do the thing, and I just did the thing. And then after the thing got done, I was then able to like introspectively understand what was happening, right? So it's a different way of learning. Sometimes you just gotta do the thing, or don't do the thing and pay someone to do the thing, right? um, but yeah, like I have more data that this is really working, and I do post it in some videos. This video is already 2 hours long, so I'm gonna stop doing this so I can finish up making the ready. But I really had to put this out there, and it's a very long video. But that's okay. Like again, like skip to the front, skip to the back. The back towards the end is the technical stuff. But you, if you're to build your own business, I highly suggest like listening to the beginning and finding, like guide you through the journey so you can get through it faster of like reconciling the mindset and what it is in the mindset that's like going to be the floodgates that gets shifted, right? Or the shift that opens the floodgates for like your next level of success, right? Well, I hope you have a great weekend. I think I should drink more water, and my Doberman is crying for me, so I need to go check on my baby. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and for, I guess, like listening.